Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And today, I guess, I kind of want to talk about, uh, shamanism. But my first impulse was to talk about, you know, how to contact your angel or your whatever it is, your helping spirit. Um, and one led to the other because um, they're within the same realm. Shamans work with spirits, they work with altered states of consciousness, you know, uh, metaphysical realms. And, but the one thing about a shaman is they can come back to 3D reality, so there's this full circle of integration. So instead of having to die and come back to life and report on it, a shaman can alter their state of consciousness and visit those planes where people die, you know? And I would say there's many types of shamans, but it's all within this ability to shamanize. So, and I being a shaman, we think, oh, they're going to help the community. They're going to shake a rattle, burn some sage, and have some tribal affiliation. And that's a shaman. They're going to play healer, witch doctor. They're going to kind of be a therapist for modern man's problems, you know, and I feel like the reality of being a shaman is it's kind of you can be born that way. You can be already on the path. Or you may tumble down off your personal path, like a midlife crisis or an illness or an encounter with nature or forces, psychological or external, that totally shock your system. And you could then be put on the path. So at this point in my journey, I'm kind of like, it's really weird because new powers and abilities are working for me. And, and then as a consequence, I don't have much to say because I've come to this point in my personal training, my personal unfolding and becoming, where there's a time where you just have to put down the known information and jump into the deep. You know, move out of known territory. Everyone's wrote books and teaches seminars on things that are known. Well, I'm not interested in the known. I'm interested in the new frontier. Pioneering spirit, the explorer, the adventurer. I need to go into the unknown. And there's no career for that, or there's no label for that. There's no, you know, so it hasn't developed into a system yet, you know? So, but I'm looking at my journey and I'm looking at just, it's weird. I've always had this ability uh, to go multidimensional or psychic or spiritual, whatever you want to call it. Um, but I always know there's this spontaneous twist that goes with it. So it can't be like too pinned down and turned into a method or a formula. It's usually when I let all that go, it naturally, spontaneously happens. I call it shamanizing, almost like if someone was going to say, like the old Star Trek show. they say like, beam me up, Scotty, or, for to beam up. And, they stand there, and then their body turns into like particles, and then it gets beamed onto the ship and rematerializes. I would say shamanizing is like that. I mean, that's a really dramatic version that you feel a change inside of yourself. And so if I have the day off from work and I have no responsibilities and if I can let the world go, so not be tied down by thinking about bills and when I need to be to work and what my boyfriend is thinking and feeling, if I have no responsibility, zero, none, I can literally just sit down and spontaneously a shamanic experience could happen. No drumming, no rattles, no magical mushrooms, psychedelics, no drugs, no prayers, no chants. And I have to be really careful because if I sit down next to a tree, I'll have a very deep process of energetic purging and like a recalibration to reality and life, and then massive visionary trance states. And I and it happens like when I'm by myself, when I'm not getting input distractions from like other people talking to me, getting my attention, strangers, traffic. So sometimes I'll go on these like meditation walks, and I find sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I have to be present enough with my five senses that it doesn't let me move totally quantum fifth dimensional, you know. Um, but I use a lot of that as training. So it's really weird that I've kind of taught myself how to wiggle and worm into altered states of being. Like, and so I feel like because it's just been such a long journey, very nuanced, exploring the subtleties of body transformation when channeling or when altered states are happening, and nuanced experience, like awareness. And so it's like I'm witnessing and watching and learning how my body and how my mind and how my energy and how my feelings are doing these like contortions to get from point A to point B. Uh, and then sometimes just being aware of how things are hitting my energy and how they then twist and convolute and contort to work with my nervous system and my body, and so energy's coming in, energy's coming out. It's not, it's such a, you have to have a really good sense of body awareness, self awareness, energy awareness. So to feel how things are affecting you. And there's actually a huge level of vulnerability that happens. I mean, it's like a force. Sometimes it's a force that just like smacks you. Bam. Hits your energy so hard that you might stumble like a drunk in the street. Like you might stumble. So sometimes it's best to sit down and, or certain experiences, spontaneous shivers and shakes and contortions happen, and it feels like you're being turned inside out. And it's like, what's going on with your biology and with yourself, that anyone else would be like, what's going on with this poor guy? Like, what did he eat? Is he on drugs? And it's like, no, I'm just purified. I've just removed myself from the world, and there's a natural healing happening. There's psychological rebalance, there's a reset going on, a reconnect with the earth, a touching bases with my soul. And so a lot of shamanism is natural process. And so I think this is where people have this huge misunderstanding of what shamanism is. Or we've made it into a religion, we've made it into a culture, we've made it into a thing. When the essence of shamanism, I like, I was watching this video and it said, Terence McKenna said, a shaman is an unlabeled bottle. And I really liked that kind of quote because when I kind of see a shaman as a clear quartz, you know, any light can be projected through it, you know, uh, or channeled through it. So I could beam a yellow light through it, it's going to look yellow. I can beam a red light through it. It's still this kind of like undefinable clear thing, but it can be any color you want it to be or used in very versatile, laser point. So like so there's so much metaphor. And so uh any type of mental clearing, spiritual clearing is going to help you return to this true nature of being a clear quartz or a channel. So I think channeling is natural and normal for a shaman, period. And I'm a full body channel, so it actually takes my body, you know, there's consequences for handling big things. There's gifts, there's blessings that come with it, but there's also consequence. So it's like a full body, like the mind and the body are not separate. And so very it's a so I think there's this holistic approach, mind, body, and spirit, but you really start understanding when you're altering your mind, you're altering your body. When you alter your body, you alter your mind. And so that might be the biggest lesson learned through medicine plant. Like, that's like it's altering body to try to alter mind, which I think just really opens up the mind. You know, it just helps loosen the hold of our personalities and our egos and our memory banks. Uh, so, what I'm advocating here is saying we need to reorient ourselves to what shamanism is. One, it's natural, it's a natural process. And, everyone has, there's some people who are more gifted than others. Um, I'm saying it's supernatural, super basic. And so because we're looking for these extreme experiences, like contacting DMT entities, or looking at the geometry that happens when you're like on acid or something, or hearing voices, you're making it so sensational. We're like, you're, we want these vivid, bold, things going on within shamanism, miracle healings. We want sensationalism. We want glamour. We want to be mystified and swept away from the mundane. And I'm like, that in my mind is amateur. Because when you've been on the road for so long, so I'm going to say the more powerful you get as a shaman, the more minute, more nuanced, more simple it actually is. Like, oh, look, there's a flower growing on a thorn bush. And, like, okay, literally, there's just little thorn bushes uh, that are growing by the track system that I take to and from work. And they've just been the happiest little flowers, bold, deep, five petaled mustard like flowers. And I'm like, we're in this city and everyone's acting crazy and all the whole world is going on. And yet there's this little burst of deep, bold, powerful yellow and these cute little flowers. And I'm like, how amazing is that? I'm like, I don't need to hear a voice. I don't need to look at read a book on symbols to just be like, wow. And life is amazing and it's powerful. And its very existence is making a statement, like kind of opposite. It's making a statement of coexistence. It's making a statement about the power of nature. It was like no labels. It's a statement about creativity. It's a statement about, so you're going to relate to it however it is. Uh, that just makes my day. I don't, so I think new age love bombing, spirituality, religious love bombing is crazy. And spiritual bypassing, believe in higher powers and everything is okay and throw away responsibility. Like, whatever. All I know is I saw that flower and it caught my attention, and its message is so much louder than what the whole world is saying. So I'm going to have to say shamanism is deeply connected with the earth. And it's not Mother Earth and we're here to save the planet and grandfather sky and grandmother rock or mountain, or, you know, uh, female goddess, male goddess, sister moon. Like, that's a culture. Those are symbols that are for a culture. We don't need to appropriate that. You can just be like, oh my gosh, I'm in something called life. And it's living and it's visceral. And as far as I know, I have a body. And so it's like, you can't help but be a participant in life. Even if you're putting blinders on, you're still participating. You're going to go through the pleasures, the pains, the transformation of life and death, falling in love. You're going to go through all these things and prepare for death, which is actually a birth into a new dimension if you're working on it. So, in a weird way, there's no time where the last thing on your mind is try to label it and create a religion. The last thing on your mind might actually be trying to gather people together and doing a ceremony or a ritual. Like, save that for the religious people. They can do that. For the people who want to make money, they can do that. But most, I would say, real shamans, depending upon your level and what you can do with your powers, you're kind of in monk mode. You're an artist, you're a creator. You're working with those forces and powers. So I would say low key, on a very subtle way, you might feel a wave of inspiration like an artist and go paint and draw and then sell it, and it brightens people's homes. It maybe inspires them. So you could be a writer. You could, whatever it is that you do in your mundane world, if there's a little creativity and a little inspiration, you could say you're being guided by spirits. It doesn't have to be, this is my life calling and I'm from the Pleiades and I'm with blue people and I remember all these past lives and now I'm shaking a rattle and in my garage we're doing ayahuasca ceremonies and someone's pissing in the corner of my garage. Oh, like, it doesn't need to be a performance. It doesn't need to be all that. You're throwing up, you're purging out evil spirits. Grab some holy water made in someone's basement out of cheap cologne and, oh, yeah, I don't need to listen about love and brotherly love and how the world is going crazy and we need to get back to our roots. And nature is the cure. Like those are like it's so agenda. It's so it's like no, you and your journal having inspirational thoughts can be the most powerful shamanic moment. You don't need to be on a mountaintop. You don't need to be starving yourself or in some yoga position. You don't need to have like someone working on your chakras and your aura. Like all that, it's like if you strip it all away, your ability to connect with yourself will open up those doors to be with yourself, to let, have a kind of like a relationship. I think journaling is a great way to really strengthen your powers, being artistic and creative and whatever it is will lead you to what I like to call your genius, your inspiration, your inner knowing. And then that force can build stronger within you. And, some people feel moved by music. They're channeling the sound, they're channeling the beat. Like, you can't dance if you don't got no rhythm. It is very true. If you don't have timing and beat down, you can't channel and interpret with your body, mind body being one. So I think dance is a really wonderful way. Artists, creators, dancers, like, so I guess they would call that maybe movement arts, is a form of shamanism. Any psychic mediumship, anything where you're being creative. So we have this narrow window, but we've specialized into something dramatic, like a crazy person who's now a healer. They're a real shaman. Like we put them in a class of spiritual slash special, like a pope, like you're like a spiritual pagan special person, and I want you to tell me what to do. Well, that's religion again, and so it's gonna look backwards when you meet a real shaman, because they're gonna be like, well, do whatever you want. Who am I? I'm just a puppet on a string. Um, they may or may not help you. Uh, Not all shamans are here to serve the community. And so you could be a really powerful shaman, but you're doing it all for self interest. And so this is where you move into the realm of a sorcerer. I just want to continue my personal journey, expand my powers, and learn about the universe in a shamanic way, which is very experiential. It's a united mind body experience or astral experience. It's very much high level mysticism, but it's through experience and having these experiences that are transcendent, journey like. And I would say you're a sorcerer. So if you want to be love and light, you want to play therapist with humans, and you might feel a calling, whatever. You want to play saint for a while, you want to play teacher, you want to play master, you want to play guru, you want to like be in the mortal realm, uh then, or you want to stay and play is what I call it. You want to stay and play or stay and learn and play and get paid, you can go be a shaman. And I actually don't think that's the greatest way to learn. I think try it for a while and get an education, but eventually you have to grow your wings and fly. And like say, okay, world, I have to set you aside and move into the other realm. And that's where you become a, a non human. So, and this happens for witches and wizards. This happens for people who are flirting with mysticism. You're going to get to this level where you actually now have changed your resonance to fourth and fifth dimension. And this is why it's dangerous to play. So there are real dangers to playing with power and learning these experiential things. You'll find out uh, that maybe you like swimming in that ocean better than this one. But the reality is you can't really fully switch over yet. So you have to maintain your body, go to work, have a job, maintain your family, your duties, and your responsibilities. So you become very ungrounded. You lose a love for living here. So you can become very like cold, very vacant, very absent. So I'm like, if you're losing your car keys, if you're being absent minded, if you can't attract positive relationships, wealth into your life, you've gone too far in mysticism. And most likely, your lesson is to learn to balance both worlds. Uh, you're gonna go anyways. Once you have so much knowledge or ability and experience, you're gonna move to those realms within 50 years, anyways. So, what's your hurry? You know, that mystical ocean is gonna always be there for you. What's not gonna always be here for you is a training ground called Earth. So it's like the Zen, a nice strong dose of Zen is, after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. During enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So I believe work, duty, learning to have to get yourself up and go to work and be a functional member of society, learning to participate in humanity in the 3D world, in the garbage, in the junk, is training. That's your dojo. So to kind of set yourself up in an easy position of just maybe doing ceremonies and rituals and not getting down and dirty into learning to work together, with some community service or working together as a team, and some maybe lower end jobs, you're limiting your experience of why you're here on Earth and why you have a human body. So we tend to discount our 3D experience. So everyone wants to go up to their crown chakra, live in oneness. And you also have to learn to come down and live in your lower chakras, which is where your abundance is. It's where your physical health is. It's where your ability to keep passion alive and your relationships alive and to feel the vibrance of life, you know? Uh, and, and, and also, you are the touch point. Like you are the paintbrush and God is holding you. You are the tool. You are the instrument. If the paintbrush disintegrates because God grabs that paintbrush and that lightning energy is too strong, if you're a weak paintbrush, he has to throw you away and get someone else. So you have to be able to survive this world and to be a useful tool. Like, you have to be a tangible, interactive portal for yourself and others if you're going to play the role of shaman or mystic or whatever you want to call yourself. Um, and then to wrap this little video up, because it kind of turned into kind of an eye-opener on it all, is, geez, I'm losing my, there's just so much to talk about it. Like there's so many directions we could go with this. Oh yes, non-label. So I've broke up with other shamans or other people who are at high levels because when these really cool things are happening, they want to create a construct. They want to create a method. They want to create a logic to it, an understanding. And so they start overusing their 3D brain. And then once you label it, once you call it God, once you call it oneness, once you call it the fifth dimension, once you call it a certain density, once you call it an archangel, you've negated its power. You've limited it. You've blinded yourself. It creates a shadow. It creates a distortion. Like, you have to be okay with having stuff happen to you and not explain it away. And then you also have to know your explanations that you're using to convey something that's way beyond definition is almost a half truth. You know, it's a close approximation. And somehow the knowledge will get transmitted, but the actual words, the 3D words, the limited language, it doesn't really convey the intensity of it. Like, you can read all you want about Buddha, but until you shake Buddha's hand, you haven't experienced Buddhism. Until you've had spirit contact, you haven't had it. You've read about it, it's flirted with you in certain ways, but until it happens, so there's so many levels of knowing, and each level is valid. And do you need a gallon of truth, or are you okay with a teaspoon? Because if you can just use a teaspoon and be good and savor it and really use it all, I'd rather just give you a teaspoon. You know? So there has to be a point where you just put it all down, drop all the definitions and labels, and just be open. And if you can do that, you don't need drugs, rituals, and ceremony to get yourself to point A to point B on the shaman's path. So, being okay without explaining it away and thinking about it. Because we kind of live in a culture where we feel like we have to justify things. If I know what I'm doing, then that gives me the permission slip to beat a drum out in the forest and sing a song. If I know what I'm doing, then I'll be brave enough to attempt this ritual of whatever it is, you know? And so I feel like a lot of people are just trying to uh, get an education to justify an action that they want to take. Well, just take the action and not know why. Just throw yourself into the abyss. You know, you don't really know where you go when you sleep. You don't even know what really sleeping is. You don't even know what death is. So people are creating roadmaps, they're creating models, but we don't even know. Afterlife, what afterlife? I don't know any afters. I don't know any befores. It's like an unwritten script, an undefined creature. Like, you become this thing that can like morph into whatever, like plastic, clay. You're malleable. You can change and adapt in the moment. And part of that looks like the movie is going to cut out. So we'll continue later.